One of the most defining aspects of Landman isn't the oil deals, the lawsuits, or even the corporate power struggles. It's Tommy's bluntness. His sharp, unfiltered way of speaking doesn't just give the show attitude, it defines its realism. Beyond the dialogue itself, Tommy's bluntest moments shape the entire tone of the series. They strip away illusion, cut through sentimentality, and remind us exactly what kind of world this story exists in. Tommy doesn't romanticize the oil business. He doesn't sugarcoat risk. He doesn't pretend that loyalty outweighs profit or that hard work guarantees fairness. And that's what makes his character so central to the show's dark realism. In a lot of modern dramas, especially ones about power and industry, there's a temptation to glamorize the grind, to frame risk-taking as heroic, to present bold leadership as inspirational. Landman does the opposite. When Tommy speaks bluntly, whether he's warning someone about financial fallout or calling out unrealistic expectations, he grounds the narrative. His words remind everyone, including the audience, that this world runs on harsh math, not good intentions. There's a difference between being cruel and being clear. Tommy lives in that space of clarity. He often sounds harsh, but his bluntness usually comes from experience. He has seen deals collapse. He has watched people overestimate their leverage. He understands that oil isn't just an opportunity, it's volatility disguised as stability. And the show leans into that. Whenever things start to feel like they might tip toward optimism, Tommy's dialogue pulls it back. A risky expansion isn't exciting, it's dangerous. A bold move isn't visionary, it's expensive. A partnership isn't friendship, it's temporary alignment. That perspective injects realism into every major decision. His blunt moments also highlight the emotional cost of the industry. When he speaks plainly about layoffs, losses, or betrayal, there's no dramatic speech about destiny or loyalty. It's transactional, and that's what makes it uncomfortable. The oil business in Landman isn't driven by passion. It's driven by survival and leverage. What's especially powerful is how his bluntness affects the people around him. Some characters see him as abrasive. Others see him as necessary. But no one can ignore him. His honesty forces other characters to confront reality sooner than they'd like. When someone pitches an idealistic plan, Tommy's response isn't hopeful curiosity, it's immediate calculation. What does it cost? Who absorbs the risk? What happens when it fails? Those are the questions that define the show's tone. In that sense, Tommy becomes the moral weather system of the series. Not moral in the sense of right or wrong, but moral in the sense of truth-telling. He exposes the emotional and financial consequences of ambition. He doesn't let characters hide behind ambition without acknowledging fallout. His bluntness also reinforces one of the show's bigger themes. Power doesn't protect you from consequences. In fact, the higher you climb, the harder the fall. When Tommy speaks about risk, you can feel the weight of past mistakes behind it. His tone carries history. That lived-in exhaustion gives the series its grounded texture. Even in personal relationships, his blunt approach matters. He struggles with softness. He struggles with vulnerability. But that's consistent with the world he inhabits. In an industry built on negotiation and leverage, emotional openness can feel like weakness. So when he is direct, even painfully so, it reflects a survival mechanism shaped by years in a ruthless environment. What makes this compelling television is that the show doesn't frame his bluntness as purely admirable. It has consequences. It strains relationships. It isolates him. It creates tension. But that tension is the point. The realism of Landman doesn't come from dramatic twists alone. It comes from uncomfortable truths delivered without polish. There's no inspirational soundtrack swelling behind his speeches. There's no cinematic slow motion. Just words that land heavy because they're honest. Beyond the dialogue itself, Tommy's bluntest moments define the show's identity. They keep it from drifting into fantasy. They remind us that this isn't a story about conquering the industry. It's a story about surviving it, sometimes at the expense of comfort, sometimes at the expense of connection. And that's why his voice matters so much. In a world full of calculated risks and unstable foundations, Tommy's blunt realism becomes the show's anchor. It's not always pleasant. It's rarely warm, but it feels true. And in Landman, truth is the most powerful force of all.